integration in SharePoint Libraries, Microsoft Teams gets tags, and SharePoint home sites are coming. Roll the intro. Hello, everyone. How are you doing? I'm Daniel Glenn. Welcome to
I'm Darrell as a service.
That is Darrell. And we here at this show, Darrell, I'm going to say it this time, we help you plan for change, we help you prevent or fix, and then really help you stay informed. It's what's coming in Microsoft 365. How are you doing, Darrell?
Well, I'm just absolutely impressed by that punchy opening.
It was punchy, wasn't it?
I've been eased into the message center today. I'm like, oh yeah, we help you plan for change. Yeah,
plan for change, man.
Yeah,
yeah, man.
Okay.
Darrell,
Yes.
did you have a great weekend?
I did. I did a lot of things.
Yeah.
I'm in a sense I'm still recovering from a head cold, Ignite, and but I got to relax, spend some good time with family. How about you?
I had pretty much the same kind of, well, I don't think I had the same experiences this weekend as we talked off air, but I had a good time relaxing and just spending time this weekend relaxing and really taking in. This week has been busy. Thank you for doing the show last week. Without me. Well,
right.
That's a weird way of saying it, but thank you for continuing
in a disappointing way, though, sir. In a disappointing way. I didn't include the MC numbers the whole time, so our podcast people may or may not from some of the messages. Yeah, look, see, I need you, buddy. I need you.
I actually was in Memphis, Tennessee, with a client, and I was there for several days this past week, and so I was having a great time. But thank you for powering through and making a great show. So today we're going to cover some fantastic news, I feel like, but we are going to say the MC numbers.
Well, absolutely.
We'll make
sure. If you don't, I will.
Yes. All right. So let's jump into this. And my screen is wonderfully black. That's there we go. Whew. So the first one we have is MC195725. And this is Power Apps, where's the space? Power Apps integration with SharePoint Libraries. I said where's the space because we all know at the Microsoft Ignite conference, they introduced that Power Apps now has a space in it. It's not one word.
You mean it didn't beforehand?
Right. It's always been one word, but now it's not. Power and Apps got divorced and they're no longer together. So this one is gradually rolling out in mid-November, which is now. It'll be completed in late November,
which is soon.
Which is very soon.
Yeah.
So what is this all about, Darrell? Do you know?
Look, we've seen Power Apps integration for lists, and this is where it's most useful in terms of bringing information across, getting into various different items and fields that you might use. And Power Apps, of course, allows you to add to that list and draw from that list. Now we're starting to see that in SharePoint Libraries. And look, I got to say, I thought that it was already there. I thought I'd seen the button in a SharePoint library. Yeah.
So, and we have our wonderful, there's nothing you need to do to prepare for this change. Yes, but that's not true. So I opened up the blog. This is a blog from Mark Cashman, and this is earlier this month. It had the Ignite. It's one of the Ignite posts. And it does, if we scroll down, it actually does include this Power Apps integration with SharePoint Libraries and talks about, yes, that's wonderful. Let's see if we can open image in new tab and maybe no, it's not going to work.
No, that's fine. It's
the same. Oh, well. It's fine. But basically, it's being able to interact with the list and give some with the library, and do some formatting and such, and bring in that power, giving us an app for our library. right?
But what we're seeing there is a view of a list, not a library. So, it says Power Apps can be used to customize SharePoint list forms. We don't have a picture
Yes.
there, I guess, to show what Power Apps looks like with integration to a library.
Well, this is library. Hold on.
A library of what?
Hold on.
I can see the cards.
Yeah, so these are file cards.
Oh, they are? So that's status approved. That's a file that is approved.
Yeah, these are
Okay.
file cards.
Huh.
Pretty sure.
Status approved promotions. I guess it looks like just another
These
a
are
different
previews
view
of the
that document
files.
library.
Yeah, exactly. This is the card view, and these are the previews of the files. So this is a library. Yeah.
What do you think's going on there? That there's files there and there's an approval process. Is that what's being driven by Power Apps?
It looks like in this, I don't know, in this example, it really looks like we're just giving feedback and adding some text and feedback and submitting it. That's what it looks like this Power App is doing.
Okay.
For this
Doesn't even
example.
look like a Power App, does it? It
No, it
looks
doesn't.
like
Looks like a
a
SharePoint
form for an item.
Yeah, it sure does. They
Interesting.
did a great job then.
You're soaking in it, you don't even know it.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
All right. Tags in Microsoft Teams. This is MC195755. Darrell.
I was excited when I saw this, but I was thinking of different kinds of tags.
Okay, so what kind
Where's
of tags?
another place that we use tags? We use them in social media.
Yes.
We use them in enterprise social.
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of a folksonomy for saying I'm talking about this topic or these sorts of things.
Right.
And I thought, yes, Microsoft Teams is going to use tags. We can hashtag stuff and make it easier to search, and you'll have like a click the hashtag, and it's going to show all the. No, that's not what it is. I will stop talking.
That is not what this is at all. It is actually a way to tag people and create mini groups within your team. And frankly, this is, you can @mention channels, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can @mention people in teams.
Yes.
You can @mention a team, a whole team,
Yes.
everyone, right?
Yep.
And this is a way to add a tag to users so that you can @mention them as a group, right? And examples it gives is like if you want to do cashiers here. I think there was an example for like for if you wanted to tag all nurses or that kind of tagging. Yeah, here it
You know
goes.
what?
Cashiers or nurses.
As you're talking that out, it's funny, right? This is how things usually happen for me. I read something like that and I'm like, yeah, whatever. But now as I'm hearing someone else say it and we're talking about it, this does solve a problem. It's really difficult to drive the behavior to get everyone to follow a channel. If we need to get people to follow a channel so we can say, hey, everyone in the channel, this is what you need to know, and people don't do it, well then, tough, right? But if we do it for them as a team owner and add them to a tag, then job done. We can communicate with that tag.
Right. And that's exactly right. When I read this, I didn't jump to a conclusion when I saw tags. I just went, what does that mean? And then I read a little bit, but just a little bit, and I went, wait, this solves one of the biggest issues I have with Teams, which is what you were describing. To talk to a group of people, you either need to talk to everyone in the team or everyone in the channel, or you need to @mention every individual person. This is a way to say, I've got a team for a radiology, and maybe I do channels for not like a channels for doctors and a channels for nurses. Maybe I do, but maybe I do channels for a purpose or shifts or whatever. Now I'm freed up to do channels for whatever, and then tag people appropriately. So wherever I am and I say, oh, I'm in a channel, and I say, oh, this is important about whatever that topic is in that channel, and I want to @mention all nurses. Well, I'm not constrained by the concept of only channels or only team.
Yeah.
And I was
Yeah,
like, oh, that's big.
channels then can focus on being great at what they do in terms of covering a topic,
Right.
instead of this is a channel for a certain type
People.
of person. Which,
Right.
you can, and it means that there's that cross
Pollination.
cross function within
Yeah.
the team. That I might
Yep.
do something for nursing, I might do something for procurement. We're spinning things here.
Well, no, but it does release it releases channels to be so much more. We're letting the flower blossom.
Hey, something that
really
came to
is.
mind there too, mate.
Yeah.
You said, like, you talked through an example of where we might have to add individual people to a conversation. At mention. We've added 3 people. So that's being really specific. There's another scenario where some people feel they have to do that, and that's when we're organizing a meeting. Now, I would like to think that we could organize a meeting, invite
With
people from a
tags.
channel, and but I wonder if tags is going to be meeting compliant or meeting compatible.
A meeting
Wouldn't that be cool?
object.
Yeah, invite everyone in a tag to come along to a meeting, and then set the meeting to be in a channel, and then you are truly sending it out specifically to the people that you want. I don't see anything there in terms
I don't
of
either.
meeting, but we can investigate.
I don't either. And the link at the very bottom just says blog, and it takes us to this wonderful blog post about teams reaching 13 million daily actives from July 11th. So it is not
it's
irrelevant.
It is halfway down the page. So these are announcements of features that were mid-year. If you
Right.
go down to where was it?
Targeted
there.
communicationing.
Yep.
Okay, so I did a search for tag, and tag's nowhere mentioned in this language.
No.
So
Sounds like they've had a marketing change in what
Maybe.
they're calling it.
maybe, and so we got this targeting. Yeah, so that would be a good question to ask, and I think that's something we should ping the team about. Is this going to be a meeting artifact? Can we schedule meetings with a tag?
That may reveal how the tag actually works. Now, if
Yeah.
you think about, there's a group, that's an Active Directory object. A person is a member of that group. They're an Active Directory object. But channels and tags are a Teams object or an artifact.
Right.
So maybe we won't see any compatibility with
Maybe not,
meetings.
but if you think about like distribution lists, right? It's not really an object, a container for those. When you send that email, Exchange looks inside that to find out who all the people are. Why couldn't Teams, if I'm scheduling a meeting in Teams, do the same thing? As soon as it's in the send process, just look at who's in the tags and add them. I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't know. We're hypothesizing.
Let's look into it.
Yes,
We'll look into it.
Yep.
I know we have another topic for deep dive later on, but maybe I can do a bit of investigating.
All right. So next up, end user profile experience, an updated feature, MC 195855, and this is really all about this thing called My Account, right, Darrell?
Yeah. So top right hand corner, and like I'm seeing it now up in your top right hand corner, Daniel Glenn. If you just click on that, you will see, and don't click into it right now, or hey, why don't you right click My Account and then open in a new tab if you're comfortable with that. Right. So this is the page that they're talking about. Click on over to My Account. That is going to change.
Yes.
Ooh, nice brown.
Yeah, it's more of an orangish, but yeah, orange gold.
So this is the place that we guide people to set up their multi-factor authentication and manage the enrollment of that. That's one way to do it. You've got your Office apps and devices, so you can manage how many activations you've got across the different devices and do that sort of thing. That's going to expand, and apparently it is connected also to the My Apps experience, which we will see in here as well.
Right.
So this is all getting a big shuffle up. If you go back to that screenshot, you'll probably see that those cards, security info, devices, password, that all was represented down the left-hand side. Now they're cards to dive into and configure.
Right. And I think that what is interesting, I found kind of interesting about, and this is rolling out early December, completed by the end of the year, meaning fiscal calendar year. What I found interesting is that this feature is off by default, and it's when you enable it, it will you enable it via a switch in Azure Portal, but I didn't understand why it's off by default.
Wonder what else it triggers.
I don't know. I'm not entirely sure why the new My Account experience is a... I mean, it is a change, and it's kind of a imposing... But, I think Microsoft has made bigger changes and required it or added on by default. So it just kind of... It's very interesting that it's off by default. So you have to enable it to get that functionality.
That additional information takes you off to a docs.microsoft.com page, but it's one that is actually tailored for users. Usually we see docs.microsoft for admins. This one is, hey user, this is how it actually works and what you would use it for. Right. So there's a nice list there.
It sure is. It's talking about how you can use that. So it's nice. So it's just, anyway, I thought it was very interesting that it was doing that. That it was off by default. Yeah. So okay.
I think it's just shifting to consistency in presenting things with cards.
Yep. Okay. So the next one is it has some implications in it. So this is SharePoint Classic popularity reports to be retired, and this is MC 195-889. And action required by February 28th of 2020, because after February 29th, and is it a leap year next year? I guess it is. The usage reports will not be available. So this is for Classic. This is not for modern sites. Okay, this is Classic sites, and it's going away. You won't have access to those reports anymore, nor will you have access to the historical reports. So it has a section of what should I do now? Well, download the historical data before February 29th. The reason why I said this has some implications is this is kind of the first thing I can remember. There may be others, and people in the chat can chime in on this, but it feels like this is the first thing about classic sites that's going away. And this modern sites is becoming the now, right? Microsoft, I've been hearing that a lot. It's no longer modern sites, it's the now, it's SharePoint sites. And so classic sites, yes, there's a different experience when you're managing sites in SharePoint admin, but it's not going, that hasn't gone away. This is a part of it going away. Darrell, can you remember anything about hearing anything? I'm just saying it's not alarming. It's just, hey, writing on the wall, classic sites, here's some functionality going away, right?
It's going to be like those sandcastles on the beach that we make, and we sort of tunnel away, and we tunneling away at the foundation, saying, well, you're not going to have this anymore, you're not going to have that anymore. Eventually it's going to get to a point where, if you haven't already started modernizing or nowing, nowifying, can I throw that in?
Yeah. So I read this two different ways, and maybe we can get some insight on this as well, because it does say here, the data represented in the modern site usage report includes data from classic sites as well as modern sites. But the way I was reading it before, if you use classic sites and usage and require usage data, you can download historical data for all these reports. So maybe it's just that you only get 90 days for this. With the new modern site usage page, you only get 90 days, and before you could get more. So maybe that's the big change here. But so I was reading it, I'm like, oh, it's going away. But then this sentence says it is included, but you're only getting 90 days. So, but still, we're kind of switching, from this classic to the current SharePoint sites usage. And so if you use it and you're viewing data greater than 90 days, well, you're going to be switched to the modern site usage page after February 29th.
Right.
Okay. So the next one
is a security thing.
Do you
well, how have you got your phone configured? If someone sends you a message on whatever platform or social whatever, do you have it so that if you pick up your phone or you just glance at it from an angle, it can actually read what's on the
I do not.
The lock screen?
I actually don't. I have it. You have to unlock it before you see previews. So I would actually have to put my thumb on it. Now, that does actually, when you pick up your phone, the first thing I do is put my thumb on it. So, or, whatever finger. So, but yeah, it does not show previews of the content. How about you? Do you show previews?
No. And with the iPhone, I don't see those until my face is scanned and then it expands. And if I want to go into the full experience, I'll swipe up or I'll tap into one of those notifications. But this is giving admins control over blocking organizational data from Outlook Mobile and on those lock screens. Like maybe you've got an appointment and it says review or discussion about resignation, something sensitive, right?
Right.
And you don't want people to see that. Imagine you're in a meeting and your phone's on the table and that flashes across there and boss says, oh, can we move it forward 30 minutes? And someone glances down, oh, what's going on there? So things like that that you'll be able to control. And before we go too much further, MC 195896. I'm so proud of myself. I remember.
Thank you, Darrell. You did remember it. And the title of this is, well, my screen went black again. That's right.
Block organizational data.
Block organizational data
on Outlook mobile notifications.
That's right. And so this will be gradually rolling out in mobile apps in mid-December of 2019. And you do this in Intune. In the Intune application protection policy, it's called org data notifications. And this is for, like you mentioned, it's for emails, but it's also for calendars. And actually, I think, I don't know, calendar, I was about to say, I think calendar may actually be a little more sensitive and for the exact reason that you just said of...
It may be.
But, it's email too. And so for preparing for this change, we have a couple of policy settings, right?
Yep. So you can go in and set that org data notifications and calendar notifications. They can be configured separately. And that'll take effect across Android and iOS.
Which is great, right? Yeah. A lot of times we get these and they're, it's iOS right now, but because Intune is Android and iOS aware, they're doing a good job of keeping those in sync here.
So both you and I have found a workaround to this anyway, by not displaying them unless the phone is unlocked. And in my case, I don't get a notification every time an email comes in. I know that there's a feature in Outlook Mobile to say, show me notifications for the people that are most important to me. So that, maybe you use email
or you can
way.
do
but I
focused inbox, have only notifications for that as well.
Yeah.
So
it could be something sensitive come through on that, but this is a good feature to block that and prevent it from seeing.
And we did it. This is from an organizational perspective of we want everyone to do it. So, push the big button and make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Speaking of security, new
and
feature,
sensitivity
labels for Teams, MC 195905.
I'm going to label you as a sensitive person, Daniel.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So these sensitivity labels control things like the way you create teams, but also if you can invite external people right?
Mm.
So,
Mm.
you can set it up to where I can have guest access or not. And I really like that, to be able to say, you go in a team and it shows you the label, it shows you that this is sensitive, and I can't add guests, if it's super sensitive.
Yeah.
Right?
It's something that people may have thought they had with was it classification labels, and that came out first. That was a way you had to use a PowerShell command and say, this team is, here's my classification label.
Yeah.
But the classification label actually doesn't enforce anything. It relies on a separate service to do that. Whereas this is far more friendly for an admin, and you can create policies to enforce something, as we see there, that you can only create a private team if the sensitivity is confidential. So your team owner who is creating a new team, provisioning a new team, they need to think, first of all, who is my audience? Who needs to be part of this team, and is the information in here sensitive? Is it a top secret project that our organization is working on, like a new HoloLens something, that we've got to keep our cards close to our chest. And then all that sensitivity is enforced by policy.
Right. And it is shown in the top right, that if you've marked something in this example, which is the additional information on this item, it open, and it's a really good, I like this doc in docs.microsoft. It's a sensitivity labels article, and it talks about what's the difference between sensitivity labels and classification labels, but then walks through that. So I like this article. Definitely check this out. That's the additional information on this item, and this is sensitivity labels for teams is rolling out in mid-November, and it's supposed to be complete by the end of December.
I'm clicking like on that message and just adding good job on the additional information. The docs.microsoft article is very useful.
It is very useful, and you saw it at the top. It said this is a preview functionality. I like that, and I know it's hard. I know it's difficult to put out content about features that are in preview. But it's really nice to have that for us we put it in the message center to be able to just click that and go to it. Love it.
Okay. Well, this one that we're finishing on, this is a doozy.
Yes.
It's a good one.
So new features, SharePoint home sites, MC195924. So Microsoft's been talking about this for a little bit, Darrell. The concept of SharePoint home sites. This is, I'll cover gradually rolling this out in targeted release customers the end of November and be completed by the end of January 2020. So this is really that kind of that top level, that landing page for your intranet, right? That's the way Microsoft envisions this being used.
Yeah, like your tenant name. What is your tenant name, Daniel? Something.sharepoint.com.
Yeah.
Right? Whatever it is. Let's say DGC. So that's your top level site.
Yeah.
I find, though, that the name of SharePoint home sites to be confusing, because for a while we were messaging the app in the waffle. That was your SharePoint home. And when you went there, you saw something similar. But now this is referring to your top level site for your SharePoint environment.
And it's not really top level as in the URL. This is your SharePoint home can be any communication site. So it's not that top level. Now it could be that one. You could promote, have a site there at your top level. We talked about, site swap and all of that. So you can enable that and denote that as your home site. This is really talking about, it does things for discoverability. It makes SharePoint aware that this really is the home. This is things that are here have more weight, and it's got authoritative news for your organization. And when you search on this page as well, it'll search organization wide. So that's what it's doing. And what people are thinking about using this for, I think, is what you described, is setting a communication site as that home, as your root of your tenant, so tenantname.sharepoint.com,
Mm-hmm.
and then marking it as your home site. And
Yeah.
but I think it does have a little bit of when it was first introduced, I think there was some confusion around that, around what exactly is this and how does it work. And so, as you mentioned, we're going to do a deep dive on this one. We have an interview with a very someone who has intimate knowledge of this and this home sites concept. Should we mention who it is, or should we just leave it as a surprise?
Well, we could just say it's a senior program manager on the
There we go.
SharePoint team.
It is a senior program manager, and so I'll be interviewing him and include that in the audio version of our show. So if you're not subscribed,
Deep dive.
deep dive. So make sure you do subscribe. You can go to messagecenter.show and subscribe to our podcast, and you'll get that section. But I'm going to interview him and talk to him about, SharePoint home site. How does he envision? How does Microsoft envision people using this, and why? And how does this affect organizations? Because I see this I actually see this down the road of, if you don't signify a home site, there might be some implications to you and your organization. That some things that Microsoft is rolling out or might do in the future, you might need a home site. You might need a site designated as a home site. So,
surely you'll still have that default one if you haven't done anything. But I look at this one that they've got in the image, and it looks kind of similar. But there's something that maybe I'd add to this home site if I was wanting to drive some communication. I might embed a Yammer web part in there for a couple of key groups that I want to highlight, or I might have featured news. So I know you can see the web part there with your cards, but maybe we do use a hero web part or something else.
Well, and actually I think maybe that is, now that you say it that way, I think maybe that is driving some of the confusion with what a home site is, because this looks very similar to that landing page when you click on SharePoint in your top bar. That,
are you comfortable with opening yours now, or do you think you've opened some documents here? Just hit the waffle.
Let me do that.
Open a new tab.
Hopefully I don't have anything.
Hey, Daniel Glenn, you've never been here. Don't you love that?
Yes. Well, I actually have.
See, this looks the same.
It looks.
It's not like it's rolling out. It's very similar.
This is actually news and sites. It's exactly
what's missing?
the same.
Have a look at the landing.
That's
the hub, the site collection navigation. Right? There's no hub site navigation across the top,
right
on this.
So
that's
this is I think this is actually what's driving a little confusion, because if you go to this SharePoint.aspx, it is a site that's this. I think maybe they just used that concept and slapped an image on it or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It maybe not, but I think what would have been better is if they actually made. And it's not just the image in the notice, that we're not trying to harp on that. It's when they communicate home sites, it's like, oh, this is what it could be. And it's like, we already have that. So could it be more like what normal people do as a intranet, right? You have your news, you have your links, you have, so I feel like that could have been a little better, but yeah.
But there's nothing you need to do to prepare, Daniel.
No, there's nothing at all. So you do this by PowerShell command, and that's a set SPO home site. So, like I said, we're going to do a deep dive into that at the end of the audio.
Need to ask, what can we put on this that's different to what we currently have? That'd be interesting to hear.
Yep. So, that I think that's our show.
That's the show. Yeah, very nice.
So make sure do we need to talk about anything? Recap? I think we need to remember subscribe to the audio podcast so you get our deeper dives, and follow us on the socials at Regarding 365. Anything else we need to cover, Darrell?
Well, look, I just want to say you've done a great job driving this today. As you know, some of you know, I've changed jobs, and I'm still waiting for a machine that can comfortably deal with live streaming and recording. So that's coming, but it's good to have you driving that, Daniel, and
Sure.
sharing those skills. That's awesome. Calls to action, I guess, that we do want you to keep subscribing and following, and we've got a whole bunch of cool content from our other creators as well. There's 365 Unplugged, and there's the Coffee Adoption Show.
The 365 yes, the coffee chat on 365 Adoption, and the latest episode will be coming out soon. Sarah, Hazi, and I recorded that at Ignite, and I'll be producing that, and we'll get that out soon. And then the plan is to record actually another episode of that next month. So yes, but we've got lots of content. We've got some new contributors to the Regarding 365. So check out their content at regarding365.com.
Yeah, lots of good, consistent stories there. They're you just about have something like 2 or 3 articles to read a day, and it's awesome being part of that team.
It is. I agree with you. Well, that is our show. Thank you, everyone, for joining, and bye for now.
Bye-bye.